guys, how's it going? So last week I did a video on this Harley Benton offset with the horrible noise issue. This is dog shit! And I thought today what I'd do is try pulling the bridge off and seeing if I can find out if I can scratch some of the paint off the back of it and hopefully get the bridge to conduct some current from the ground to the strings to hopefully alleviate the horrible noise issue that this guitar has. Let's see what we can do here. Now, before we could do anything with this guitar, we decided we'd finally pull all the plastic off the pick guard, and unfortunately that meant removing the neck. Many thanks to my very good friend Steve Chason for helping me out on this. Gotta love the Harley Benton quality control, especially all the sawdust in the neck cavity. Wow, that is some first-class work there, guys. Finally, we were able to pull the bridge off, and yes, we can see a ground wire running to where the bridge is supposed to go. Now, I've heard a lot of you guys mention that EMGs don't need a ground wire. These are not EMGs. These do require a ground wire. Don't ask me why. I don't fucking design the circuits. I'm just trying to fix it. Getting a look at the bridge, we can see that the ground wire has actually left an indent in the bridge, which is kind of insane considering it's not actually conducting electricity. Testing with the multimeter, we can see that the strings are conducting and that the switch will conduct all the way to the output jack. However, the bridge is not conducting, not to the strings, not even to itself. First and foremost, I'm going to try scraping off some of the back here and just trying to get that ground wire to make contact here. So let's see what we can do here. Taking the paint off like nothing. Look at that. I got the bridge kind of ready to go back on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a test here and fire up the app and show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. So we're just going to hit a little bit of volume here. You're going to hear that fucking horrible noise again. Watch what happens when I move the bridge into place. Just gone. Well, almost completely gone. But that sounds much more like, you know, how a high gain guitar would sound before you start playing. So it would seem I just need to screw this thing down and we should be good to go. Let's see what happens here. All right, moment of truth. We got the guitar back together. We got it strung up. We got it ready to go. And of course, the big question is, does reattaching the bridge with the bottom scraped off make the ground work? Check this out. There we go. No more noise. We saved this guitar from the bonfire. That's freaking awesome. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to go turn my gate back on because I just like to work with a very, very clean overhead mic. This guy up here. And if I've got amp noise going into it, it just makes the whole editing process a whole lot tougher. Now, of course, for gating, we're using the old SMG cock blocker plugin, which you can find over at Spectre Digital, as well as my free impulse response pack. So if you like the tones that I'm working with, I've got something you can get your hands on for the big, gigantic price of absolutely nothing. Before we get into the playing, I want to give this thing a drop test, just kind of show what's going on in terms of balance. I'm going to say, in comparison to the V, this one definitely feels a whole lot more neck heavy. Cool thing about the V is, you know, there's a lot of weight on that body, so it's very nicely balanced. This guy, yeah, it definitely feels a little bit more neck heavy. If it wasn't for this rough leather strap, I think it would be much more falling down, that kind of thing. So if you are going to put a strap on this thing, make sure you get something that has some friction that will kind of grip your shirt or whatever you're wearing so it doesn't slide around. For instance, I wouldn't recommend a strap that uses seatbelt webbing. That would probably be a real bad pick for this thing. Anyway, let's check it out. Let's see what this thing can do. Anyway, let's tune this guitar up and see what we can do. okay, not too bad at all. The great thing about this thing is it's in standard tuning. I don't have any particularly heavy duty strings on here, and I certainly haven't down tuned it or anything like that. But I gotta say, the overall tone is pretty great because, hey, as we figured out, most of the tone's coming from the speaker, and in this case, the IRs that I'm running right now. This isn't my particular favorite guitar in terms of setup. It's okay from the nut to the 12th, but above the 12th, the action gets a little high, and I'm thinking it's this hip shot style bridge we got here that I probably would need to put a little bit more time in with, because there's a lot of little elements to move around, and it's going to be time consuming to get it, dialed in absolutely perfect. Whereas with the tune-o-matic bridge on the Harley Benton V, you've only got 2 screws to worry about, so it makes setup a whole lot quicker. That being said, they both mounted this chrome black hardware with this hard enamel paint, and they both had grounding issues, so just keep that in mind if you are going to be brave enough to buy one of these. I really hope Harley Benton decides to retrofit these with some chrome hardware and make sure that the ground gets to where it needs to go. That way these guitars won't be a gigantic pain in the ass to work on once you get them out of the box. It's not a half bad guitar. Offsets definitely aren't my kind of thing. I like Strats and I like Vs. I'm not a huge single cut player guy, that's for sure. And I'm definitely and would never ever consider buying an offset. That's just me though. I'm like, if this is your kind of thing, it might work. Just be aware that you probably will have to put a little bit of work into this. Not only are you going to have to put some work in on the bridge, you might also have to put some work in on the frets and pull out a fret file and take some of the burrs off. Now, in comparing the two models, even though they're from the same line, this had a far, far better fretwork done than the V had. The V had possibly the worst fretwork I've ever seen on a new guitar in my entire time of being a guitar player. And I started in 1985. I know, slightly before the wheel was invented. Getting these guitars did help me develop some new skills, and it didn't have anything to do with my playing. It's just for care and maintenance on the guitar. Now, I didn't put nearly as much time into this guitar working on the frets than I did with the V. It only took a little bit of work with the fret file and then a little bit with an emery board like this, and the frets were feeling pretty damn good. I gotta admit, I actually did this guitar first because I didn't want to risk screwing up the V, because I figured if one of these guitars was going to be usable, I'd much, much prefer the V because, yeah, I'm a metal player. So what do I really think of this guitar? Because I've had it for a couple weeks now, and it did take quite a bit of work to get it into playing shape, and it did pick up maybe a bit of a battle scar when I kind of threw it there at the beginning of the last video. It earned it, though, as far as I'm concerned. Let's break it down into 5 points, and I'll give it a rating based on what I really think of this. Okay, so the packaging, I got to say, was excellent. Harley Benton did manage to package this thing quite well, and it made it from China to Germany to Canada without any issues or whatnot. Once again, the only ding put in the guitar was by me when I threw the fucking thing when I figured out how noisy this piece of shit was. Setup, I gotta give it 2 out of 5. I think think if they maybe spent a little bit more time at the factory or at Thomann setting this up a little bit better, maybe getting a slightly better action, that would have went a long. Once again, the V guitar with the actives was much better. Fit and finish. Okay, I'm giving it a 1 out of 5. The fact that we actually had to pull the neck off the guitar to pull the plastic off the pick guard, I think it says everything right there. When you buy a new instrument, you should not have to be pulling the neck off. That's just, it's just against the rules. So maybe they could rethink how they do the plastic covering on this thing and work on that a little, or at least cut it back so it doesn't get trapped behind the neck, because I think that was kind of dumb. Other than that, I mean, yeah, sure, it's actually not half bad, but that just kind of pissed me off. It just seemed like an extra step that no new guitar player should ever have to take. And this kind of guitar is definitely aimed at the new guitar player market. That's for sure. This would be a great learner guitar because you're not going to drop a whole lot of money on it to see if you want to play the instrument or not. Components. Okay, this is where it gets a big fat fucking 0. Doesn't matter how good the tuners are. It doesn't matter how good the pickups are, because if you're not getting ground to the strings, that is a serious problem, as evidenced at the beginning of this video and for the initial unbox of this guitar as well. Harley Benton needs to step up their game when it comes to picking better components for their instruments. The HBZ pickups, I mean, honestly, they're fine. They do the job and they're fairly quiet once you get them grounded correct. So no complaints there. Again, pickups are more about output and clarity than they are for actual tone. And if anybody wants to debate that, I kindly invite them to provide me with evidence and frequency response graph. Now, new category I'm going to judge this on as well is balance and comfort. So I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5 on this. It's actually not bad to sit with. I like the fact that it's cut out here. So it actually sits classical style quite well. The balance could be a little better. Let me show you what I mean. You know, it definitely wants to sag forward. So that's not necessarily good. I'm not sure what they could do to this guitar to put a little bit more weight into the body, or maybe make the neck just maybe a tiny bit thinner and a little bit less heavy, because this is definitely a very, very thick neck. Not the most comfortable neck, that's for sure. It's not exactly the Dave Mustaine baseball bat that they've got on that V, but it's still pretty damn thick, that's for sure. I tend to prefer my necks a little bit thinner. That's just me, of course. If you're into playing thick necks, hey, have at it. You know what? This guitar doesn't cost too much. So I'm going to give this guitar a 2 out of 5 stars, because even though it had horrible hardware down here and had nasty grounding issues, it is something that's fairly easy to fix. This was a little bit easier to fix than the V was. That was for sure. All it took was a wire brush and a little bit of patience, and we got this thing going. Just make sure when you do file down the back of the bridge that you're getting the holes that the strings actually fit into. That way the ground will be going to the strings. Oh yeah, the most important thing of all, this guitar is only $139 US. That is absolutely bananas as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how the hell they managed to do this so cheap. You know, the V was about 175. This is going for even cheaper. Who knows? Maybe the price came down on this guitar after I did my initial video showing the horrible noise issue. I doubt Thoman's going to comment on that. We can only speculate, but you know, if you don't mind putting in the time, and if you don't mind putting in a bit of effort, this guitar probably is a bit of a steal, that's for sure. But don't take my word for it. You can follow links in the description below. Yes, they are affiliate links. So if you click on that and you buy something from Thomann, I might make a couple bucks, and that allows me to pay bills and do cool stuff like that. So that's much appreciated. Of course, Harley Benton's got a whole bunch of different guitars available, not just the actives with the horrible electronics issues. The Goto series that I reviewed earlier this year are excellent, as well as the Amarok series that I reviewed last year. Those guitars are pretty fucking awesome, that's for sure. In all honesty, would I buy this guitar? Probably not, because I don't like single cuts. The V's a pretty fun project guitar, I gotta admit. Who knows, maybe I'll upgrade the frets and the tuners at some point. Might be a fun little Frankenstein guitar to work on. Who knows? Maybe I can talk to a local pickup guy and maybe we can get something a little more interesting put in than just the HBZs. But then again, I'm not sold on the whole notion of pickups as tone shaping elements of a guitar. Amplitude, absolutely, but actual frequency response, jury's out on that one. Like I said, I think I'd want to see some frequency response graphs to see what's actually going on. That, again, that might be a cool video to do. Take the HBZ actives aggressives and swap them out for some passives. If that's a video you guys would like to see, let me know and I'll see if I can make that happen. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it informative. And I am getting ever closer to 500,000 subscribers. So if you did enjoy the video, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It would be a gigantic help to the channel. Thanks so much for watching and stay tuned for my passive pickup shootout video, which should be coming out on Tuesday. And of course, if you want to see my initial evaluation of this guitar, you can check out the video right here.